Virtually every scholar on planet Earth concedes that Jesus was dead after crucifixion. We have no record of anyone anywhere ever surviving a full Roman crucifixion. Even the Journal of the American Medical Association published a peer-reviewed scientific medical study of the evidence for the death of Jesus and said clearly the weight of the evidence indicates that Jesus was dead even before the wound to his side was inflicted. Even the atheist New Testament scholar, Gerd Ludemann, says historically it's indisputable that Jesus was dead. So Jesus was dead.
The core of Jesus' identity message credentials was in circulation regularly within 8 weeks after the cross.
As for hostile testimony, or at least not pro-Christian, many outside sources wrote of this Jesus.
A worker of wonders, did miracles, claimed to be God, crucified at Passover. The core facts of the gospel, death, deity, and resurrection, just based on ancient Jewish, Greek, and Roman sources that certainly were no friend to the burgeoning church. That's very compelling to historians because it represents objectivity, that those no friend of the movement also corroborate the core facts of what we know about Jesus.
Filmmaker Rick Larson finds proof of Christ and the miraculous world around him in a whole different sphere, scientific evidence.
There are two great events in Christianity. There's the incarnation and there's the execution and resurrection. Those are the two great events. And those two things, God chose to leave hard evidence that we can find today.
You know, for most of what we know about ancient history, it comes from one or maybe two sources of information. And yet, for the conviction of the disciples that they encountered the resurrected Jesus, we have no fewer than 9 ancient sources, inside and outside the New Testament, confirming and corroborating the conviction of the disciples that they encountered the risen Christ. That is an avalanche of historical data. So you put all that together and you have a really good case.
Naturalistic attempts to explain away these three great facts, like the disciples stole the body or Jesus wasn't really dead, have been universally rejected by contemporary scholarship. The simple fact is that there just is no plausible naturalistic explanation of these facts. And therefore, it seems to me, the Christian is amply justified in believing that Jesus rose from the dead and was who he claimed to be. But that entails that God exists.
You've interviewed several famous apologists over the years. Why do they end up becoming such fierce defenders of the faith?
I think because they were such fierce enemies of the faith at the start. We've got guys like Josh McDowell, who was a legal scholar, crossed the Atlantic to find out. He was basically sent out to find out, to do a paper that would disprove God existed, and he ended up finding so much evidence for him that he became a believer. We got guys like cold case detective J. Warner Wallace, who used his skills as a detective, thinking, I'm going to prove that these things didn't happen, like the resurrection. He became a fierce believer. We've got C.S. Lewis, a man, one of the most brilliant scholars in the world, who didn't want to believe, but found so much evidence that he believed. And even Lee Strobel, journalist, used all his skills as a journalist to investigate and became a fierce believer. So, and even in my own life, I was an atheist right during